I'm Marilyn Priel with The Better Part. The Salvation Army is an international organization that helps people in need. Stay with us and hear about their many services.
Welcome to The Better Part, a program that encompasses a diverse spectrum of topics important to our community, which we hope will both inform and entertain you. We invite you to sit back and enjoy the program.
Our guest is Santa Clara County Coordinator for the Salvation Army. Please meet Major David Yardley. Hello, thank you for being with us today.
It's nice to be here and to be sharing with you on this program today.
Well, you do so many things, but let's talk about the basic needs that you help people with, the food, the shelters, and so forth.
We do meet the needs right where they're at, and from the homeless who come in for food, a meal, a hot meal in the morning, at lunch, dinner, which is all the basics there with meat, vegetables, and starches. And our food boxes we give out on a daily basis, Monday through Friday, that have bread, have cereal, we have meat, we have canned goods, we have fresh produce that comes in, and it makes up our food baskets that are given out on an emergency basis, which covers 2 to 3 days.
So people would come in to you and say, I lost my job, or I've had to move, I need some food, and you would give them a basket of these supplies.
They come in, whatever their need is, and if they show that they're in need and are requesting food, we will give that out. And they can do that once a month if they're in need during that year, during that time.
Do they register when they come in?
Yes, all are registered and put in Salvation Army's database, which means that we can check to see if they've been in Santa Clara, or if they went to Gilroy for services, to if they went to San Francisco or in another state, and it's on our database.
And then how do the homeless people hear about, how do they know where you're located and that you have these things? I guess word of mouth?
Yeah, it is mostly word of mouth. Obviously, Salvation Army has been helping the disadvantaged for a long time, and especially working with homeless, that on the street they know where to come. Much like in the old days when they used to ride the railways, they would find houses that have been marked that they were friendly, and I think that's kind of where the Salvation Army has fit in over the years in whatever community we've been in. Our main Emmanuel House is located in downtown San Jose on 4th Street, which is just down from the main park where a lot of the homeless are camping out, and so that's an easy walk for them to come and get fed.
How do you get the food? Is it all donated by stores?
It's a lot of stores do help us out with food, with their dated material that comes out and still has shelf life. We purchase food to make sure that we have nutritious food in our programs when we're serving. So it's a mix of donations. We get companies who donate that aren't stores directly. We have different agencies that also support.
And then shelters, where can people come there if they have like a family, say a woman with children or something who've had to move? Can they come there and sleep?
In Santa Clara, we do not have that. Different Salvation Armies do have shelters for families, but here in Santa Clara County, it is a male, single male, and so they do come down to our Emmanuel House, which is located on 4th Street, and there's a 30-day program, and then there's an extended men's program, working men. coming from homelessness to getting jobs and actually trying to get them reestablished in our community.
So they could stay there and wash their clothes and get
Yeah,
ready to go to
there's
work.
laundry facilities,
Mm-hmm.
all of those things, showers,
Mm-hmm.
and so yes.
And then this Emmanuel House.
Yes.
Who do you own that? Does
Salvation Army owns it,
They
yes.
own their own
We own
facilities.
yes. And
Is
it's
that the same throughout the nation and worldwide, that they own their own buildings?
in most cases, yes. There are occasions when we work with the city and the city might provide in different communities, but here we actually own the property, we own the building, and it's 78 beds. And so it's quite an upkeep to keep it going and make sure it's functioning.
Do they have to help out and do a little housework while
We
they're
do
there?
encourage them to volunteer, especially the extended. If they're just an overnight stay, there's not that. But those that were in a longer period of stay, we encourage them to not only volunteer, but also go out and find work.
What about, like, I'm thinking, you said 28 beds?
78.
78. Who washes all the...
We have
Laundry.
staff who does that. We have volunteers who come. We have many different churches and different groups who actually come in on the weekends and prepare the food and serve it. So we have different groups that partake, but there is a staff on site that also is responsible to maintain the cleanliness of our facilities.
You mentioned that it's all single men. Are these a lot of people in maybe mental problems or addictions, that sort of thing, who are coming in?
I think there's a bit of all of that. The fact is many of our homeless men who are out there have some mental, and some of that they're also on their addictions. One of the things that with Emmanuel House that we have that opportunity to get them off the street. We provide a sober environment, and they have to be sober when they come in. But if they're really serious about working on their addictions, then we work with the Salvation Army's San Jose ARC, which is just a couple miles up the street, in which we can get them into a recovery program that's residential, which is a 6-month program.
Do you have very many veterans that are out homeless and coming in there?
There are always some veterans coming in. Sometimes they tell us they're veterans, sometimes they don't, but we do work with veterans for sure.
Mm-hmm. Well, I know the Salvation Army is often the first organization that shows up for disasters throughout the world. Can you tell us about that?
It is not our main call, but it is a arm of the Salvation Army legacy that we do respond to disasters when they do happen. You know, today is the day of a reminder of the October 17th earthquake here in this region several years ago, and we were some of the first on site. And one of the things that happens there is we have a 3-mode. We come in for the emergency part, meeting the basic needs. Then we kind of work with some recovery, and then we work with long-term solutions for those areas. And so Salvation Army isn't well known in that area, but they are there sometimes the first and sometimes throughout being the last on the scene.
I heard that you had actually counselors that help, like the first responders and also the victims.
There's definitely there's counseling from spiritual to just de-stressing, and we work with volunteers on that. And of course, Salvation Army officers are pastors in their own right, and so they're on site too for the spiritual counseling that may need to be taken place during any of those crises. There's a international headquarters which is in London, England, and Salvation Army falls under one general, and so they all report to international, but they go through their territories. But the Salvation Army is in, I believe, at this point in time, 126 countries. And even to the point where I just read something about there's work of the Salvation Army in Jordan and in receiving and helping the Syrian refugees that are coming into Jordan. Salvation Army is doing a part of that part, which is something new that I didn't realize until I read the report yesterday.
I know that you do quite a few things for children.
Yes, the Salvation Army believes in working with our youth. In fact, our youth are our adults of tomorrow. So here locally we have over 1,100 kids that have come in even in this last year who have been a part of the Salvation Army programming for youth, whether it's been in our day camps, our summer camps, to our character building scouting programs, to musical training. And so we're very geared to work with youth and help them. We do some music instructions, and I'm currently leading a junior bell choir, which is an interesting concept, and teaching children who are anywhere from 6 to 14 years old how to play bells. We're teaching them musical instruments, brass instruments, and we're teaching them to sing and participate in musicals. From that to piano playing. So in this county there's a lot of music being taught through the Salvation Army, which has a rich history in music.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's certainly that many fewer kids out writing on walls and that sort of thing, graffiti and so forth, if you catch them and give them a skill, a musical skill to have a sense of well-being about themselves.
It definitely helps in that kind of thing, along with their scouting programs, teaching them some positive things in which to focus. Our communities have a lot of negative already, and a lot of things that are at school and things that can get them into trouble, and we offer that opportunity.
What do you do internationally for children?
Internationally, there's all kinds of programs. You might have noticed my beard. I'm actually doing a fundraiser to raise $1,000 for a children's program in Kenya that is also doing musical. And so I'm doing my best to raise funds by growing my beard through December 29th. And I have several people already joined, and I'm just getting started. But I'm doing this because I want to give back to some children overseas and give them a chance. Many group homes the Salvation Army has, there are the refugees, children who are being left in Kenya, the AIDS projects where mothers have been dying and parents are gone due to AIDS and their kids are left. Salvation Army is also working with those children who have been taken away for human trafficking and trying to get them back and give them a safe haven. So the Salvation Army is looking to work, especially overseas in those countries where those things are happening, to provide a safe haven for children and to help them have an opportunity first to be a kid, but to grow up and to have schools in which they're going to, which Salvation Army are providing as well.
Now, where do you get all your funding? I know I've done a bit of research on various charitable organizations, and I know that Salvation Army is one who has one of the lowest percentages of the donations going towards staff, and all the rest goes to the various things that you're doing, services and so forth. Where do you get your funding, and tell us a little bit about that?
We will seek funding wherever we can, but a majority is those ones that come in $100 at a time. We're getting ready to put out our Red Kettle program, which goes out at the holiday times, and we raise funds through just people on the street who are giving, to we have companies who are sponsoring, to being a part of United Way. Although United Way is only 0.5% of our budget here in this region, we in different armies or different Salvation Armies, we have government support, but we only have 2%. So we're relying on our public and foundations to support the Army. And I like to say that those who give, those individuals, they're the Army behind the Army, because they give us the opportunity to utilize and make an impact in our community.
Salvation Army does have retail stores.
Yes.
Now, of course, everything that's comes into there to be sold is donated. And then, are the workers in the stores volunteers?
Let me tell you a little bit about the ARC program. The ARC, again, is a drug rehabilitation, drug and alcohol. There is no cost for an individual to come into that program. They just need to want to recover from whatever their addiction is. They go in, and it's a work therapy program, and so part of their training in that 6 months is to go through and be part of the processing team of the donations that do come in.
So then does the Salvation Army then own these stores as well, or do they have to rent those?
It's twofold. They have some stores that they bought a long time ago when prices were good, and they maintain those. To some of the newer stores are on lease, and so they lease them from different owners.
Mm-hmm. Well, I never knew that Salvation Army did much more than have soup kitchens. I think a lot of people didn't know that. And when I was a little girl in Phoenix, we'd see the Salvation Army band downtown in the retail section, usually in front of Walgreens, and all in their uniforms. They were all playing all this music and everything. And my grandmother said, well, yeah, they raised money to feed the hungry people. Well, I certainly didn't know that you were doing all these other things internationally. So I'm very happy to hear all that. And tell us about the actual structure then, the Army. Why is it called an Army? And
interesting question. Our founder, William Booth, in 1865, really got started from a Methodist background, and he was seeing a need of the church not meeting a need that was happening on the street with people. And he chose to go and minister to those people, but before he could, he needed to help them get to a state where they would be able to listen. And so they began to get what he called soap, and get them some soup and get them some soap to clean up, and then they would be ready to listen to his ministry. And as a family, they started to reach out and started these shelters back then, and it progressed from there to where it is today, that it isn't just about somebody who's in their addiction, but it could be an abused mother who is being kicked out of her house, or she needs a safe environment, to families who, especially in these past 5 years, where the economy has taken its hit, and where more seniors are coming in, to where families have lost their job. And so the Salvation Army is meeting different types of needs today. Here locally, we have a senior program, and we have about 80 seniors that come down to 4th Street. They come in for activities, they do exercises, they do field trips, but mainly they're coming in to fellowship and get food. We also have our social service department, our family service, who not only provides food boxes to families in need, but they also are helping some families who have need of rental assistance, because they're about ready to be thrown out on the street, and we're keeping them in their street, or keeping them in their house, so that they can not go homeless, to getting utilities on, especially during the winter months when it is very cold and they weren't able to pay their bills. Just a multitude of things that take place, to all these other activities we talked about with kids' involvement. We have teen programs, those kind of things. So there's a multitude of things that happen today, and it's just a little bit of what we can do based on what we're supported to do.
Well, that's wonderful, because hunger is not the problems for a human being. Is that we have a lot of other problems, but hunger is the first thing. And how did you get involved in this?
I was kind of born into it. My parents were officers, and as I grew up, I said I never wanted to be an officer. There's too much work and always away. And then God called me with my wife, who also didn't want to be an officer, and now I've been an officer for 21 plus years, and been to many different aspects of the Salvation Army in ministry, in service to our communities, each different and each uniquely different, and it's been a real blessing for us to be a part of that. And when we were assigned from Monterey back in July 1st to Santa Clara, we thought, I don't know what they were thinking, but God has something in store for us while we're here, and we just hope to be able to impact this community in a way that will benefit those in it, and get more people back into the community as productive citizens, giving back. And so it's been an interesting journey, because I never thought I was going to be in this position. I had other aspirations.
Did you not like it as a child, or you just wanted to do something else?
I wanted to do something where it was 8 to 5 and work was done, and I wanted to go home on weekends and be able to enjoy. And so I had all kinds of thoughts of what that might look like. And sometimes this job, especially due to the fact that we have a residential program that's 24/7, there's some extra hours that are just a part of our everyday existence, to emergency calls that might come. So it's definitely been a different, but you know, I think God prepared me, and I'm just a blessed man.
How many people are actually staffed employees, paid employees in the Santa Clara Valley?
I can only speak for 4th Street, because I don't have that just offhand, and I don't have what the ARC has, but we have about 30 at our command center, and that includes our after-school program, to our feeding programs, to our staff at the residential.
I know that in general they're not highly paid people. How do you get volunteers? Do people, see, somebody watching the program would want to volunteer to work in any of the areas that you have? How would they do that?
We have a very important person on our staff that is our volunteer coordinator, and that person takes all of our calls and goes through a pretty detailed program signing up, volunteer up, because things have changed in our world today, and so we do a background check. So if somebody wanted to volunteer tomorrow, they would have to go through the process, and it probably is not going to happen as it used to. But those who are very serious about wanting to volunteer, there's a multitude of ways in which you can volunteer, from helping us do sign-ups when the Christmas holidays sign-ups come, to standing there and ringing a bell, to serving on our Thanksgiving meals, to helping with our youth programs. Maybe you have a skill in teaching music. There's many ways in which a person can give back in their community and make a difference. But they go through one person who's our volunteer coordinator.
Very interesting. Is there anything else that I didn't cover that you think people should know about the Salvation Army?
There's a lot of activities going to be taking place during this holiday, and if you really want to see, I would encourage you to just come and be a part of one of those events. But Salvation Army, going back to the kids, we do a program when it's back to school here, and we give out 250 spots to the most disadvantaged kids and helping them get clothes for the school year. And it's a fun event because we have volunteers who take the children shopping during a special morning. And this year we did Old Navy. In the years past we've done Target. And that's followed up by a carnival, a safety carnival, in which we provide 1,800 backpacks to kids filled with their essentials for getting them off to a good start in school. We feel if we can help the parents do that, that will help that child be ready to get involved in the books. And so there's little things like that that just pop up on the scene that we don't necessarily think to talk about, but it's part of what we do here.
And all this comes from donations.
From donation.
Money donated to the Salvation Army to buy that. And do the stores give discounts?
We do get discounts when we're working with them on buying, especially for the backpacks.
That's wonderful. And do you have like a holiday things for the children, parties and things like that? Like Halloween, I'm thinking.
We are doing, different ones do in our county have different ways in which they do. We're actually doing a carnival after, because we can get free pumpkins, I think is the reason. But we're doing something with the youth for Halloween, after Halloween. And then at Christmas, obviously, we have our holiday sign-ups, but we provide toys and some clothing for youth during that time. There are different ones are assigned to different parties if they've been chosen. And so there's different things that do take place during the holidays as well for the youth.
What about the homeless people? Where do they get their sleeping bags and things like that?
Well, I just heard yesterday, and I can't remember the company, and I'm sorry I can't, but a group that's done it for years has once again contacted our Emmanuel House. And so during this year's Christmas party, they will receive a sleeping bag that a company has sponsored in purchasing, along with some other items that fresh start of socks, underwear, different things that will meet their basic needs.
Well, thank you so much for coming and telling us all this about the Salvation Army.
Thank you for having me and to be able to share today.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us for this program. As always, we love having you with us. Until next time, goodbye for now.